Now, early this morning, actor Govinda was involved in an accident, a real health scare that caused panic to his family and his fans. He accidentally shot himself in the lower leg, very close to his knee, with his own licensed revolver. The actor is now in a much better condition. He's set to be in the hospital for at least a few more days until he fully recovers. The bullet has been removed. He's out of danger. But what really happened? At 4 a.m., this news was reported. Let's take it down.
Actor turned politician Govinda accidentally shot himself in his leg with his own licensed revolver. The incident occurred when his weapon slipped from his hand and discharged a bullet.
अभी ऑपरेशन हुआ है और थोड़ा संभालने की ज़रूरत है और मैं यही कहूँगा कि जितने तमाम हमारे फैंस हैं जो गोविंदा जी के चाहने वाले हैं, आप सभी लोग प्रार्थना करें कि गोविंदा जी एकदम सही रहें।
The actor was rushed to a hospital in Mumbai and admitted to the ICU.
बुलेट निकल गई है, उनको खून फिल हो गया है, and he has been admitted here, and he will be in hospital for 1 hour. Everything is okay.
After the bullet was removed, Govinda issued a message to his fans, reassuring them about his condition and expressing gratitude to the doctors and his supporters for their blessings.
नमस्कार, प्रणाम। मैं हूं गोविंदा। आप सब लोगों के आशीर्वाद और माँ बाप का आशीर्वाद और गुरु की कृपा की वजह से गोली लगी थी, पर वो निकाल दी गई है। मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ यहाँ के डॉक्टर का, आदरणीय डॉक्टर अग्रवाल जी का, और आप सब लोगों की प्रार्थनाएं जो है, आप लोग का धन्यवाद।
Govinda was about to leave his residence for the airport to fly to Kolkata when the accident took place.
This is the bungalow where this incident took place. We are right outside this bungalow right now. Today, in the wee hours of the morning, when he was getting prepared to go out for the Kolkata, he got accidentally shot in his leg. But right now, he is well and the bullet has been removed by the doctors. Soon, he will be discharged from the hospital. With camera person Kiran Sakpal, this is Dipesh Tripathi for India Today, Mumbai.
All right, so from what we see here, Govinda accidentally shot himself while he was trying to clean his revolver. We hear the revolver slips out of his hand, falls to his feet, and that accidentally fires with the bullet piercing through his leg, left leg, around the knee area. He was rushed to the hospital, and over the time, he was, in fact, going through a surgery where the bullet was pulled out, and he finally is now out of danger, but we've heard his voice. He sounds extremely frail and weak. Well, as we see here, a quick timeline into what really happened. We hear that Govinda was reportedly cleaning his gun. He was wiping or cleaning his gun. This is what we've heard from him itself. He's given his first account of what happened. He says that he was cleaning his gun just before heading to the airport. He was supposed to be going to Kolkata. The revolver slips from Govinda's hands, it falls to the ground, and it accidentally fires a bullet, and that bullet pierces through Govinda's left knee. Now, he was then rushed to the hospital, Mumbai hospital, where he was treated in the ICU. A surgery was done where they recovered that bullet, and he was said to be out of danger. Now, there's still a lot of information that needs to be coming in on why was the gun fully loaded. We understand the cops have seized the gun, but no case or complaint has been filed. Let me quickly cut across to our reporters Dipesh Tripathi and Hesha Chima joining us live to give us a little more insights into this incident. Let me start with Dipesh. Dipesh, what kind of gun was this? A revolver that was fully loaded, 4 a.m. in the morning, Govinda pulling it out to clean it. It falls to the ground and fires accidentally. Thankfully, he's saved, and it hurt only his leg and not elsewhere. But give us more clarity on what may have happened. What is this kind of revolver that he had? He had license for it, but what was the purpose? He gained license for holding a revolver. Any idea on that?
Nabila, yes, we are right now outside the place where this incident took place, where this gunshot took place on Govinda's left knee. This is the bungalow where this incident took place in the morning. Govinda was going to Kolkata to attend a function. His wife was actually was already there, and he was going today. His flight was. Of 4:45 p.m. But before going to airport, he was keeping his gun up in the cupboard. But while keeping it, the gun fell down from his hand and it got fired. According to our police sources, they told us that the revolver which is used by the Govinda, that was old, and it was of a Webley company, 0.32 bore caliber. It was and when it fell down, the gun was fully loaded. It has 6 bullets in it, 6 bullets, and out of which one got fired, and which hurt Govinda in his left knee. The most important thing here is, Nabila, that the part of the lock of the gun was broken, and due to which it got misfired as per the primary assumption of the police. But they have not saying anything on conclusion, because they have to still record a statement of the Govinda, because he has given anesthesia and he's under its influence right now also. So police is giving him time to recover fully and to record his statement, after which the answer which needed by the police will get them answers.
6 bullets fully loaded. 6 bullets fully loaded. I'm shocked to hear that Govinda even decided to hold up that gun and try to wipe it and clean it while it was fully loaded. Of course, we know some of the measures that you need to take if you own a gun. I'm going to break that down for you. But before that, let me quickly bring in Hesha here. Hesha is very closely tracking Govinda's health condition. Hesha, we understand relatives, family members, and even Govinda's wife, who wasn't in Mumbai, rushed to Mumbai to visit him. They've all now landed at the hospital and they're trying to be there for him, calm him down. We heard his voice when he released that audio message. He sounds so weak and frail. The incident really came as a shocker indeed. It created quite some panic. But why don't you give us a little more insights into how his family is taking it, how Govinda himself is taking this?
Well, I was there right outside Criticare Hospital earlier this morning, right after the incident occurred. And, I did get to interact with a few of his family members, alongside his brother. There were also people who came, who were there, who actually met Govinda, came out and spoke to India Today exclusively. In fact, as we speak right now, veteran actor Shatrughan Sinha also went to Criticare Hospital to visit Govinda. Well, when they did come out after meeting Govinda, everybody was much relieved because, well, yes, Govinda definitely in the voice note also sounds a little bit hazy because he was still under the influence of the anesthesia while he's at the ICU. But yes, he is so much better right now, given the fact that it was an injury and about 7 to 8 stitches were given to him after the bullet was removed. He was still in a state of shock that an unfortunate incident like that occurred to him early in the morning. Kashmira Shah also went and paid him a visit. Having said that, she wanted to maintain the privacy and she did not really interact with the media. But yes, we did happen to speak to a lot of other people over there, including the doctor, Ramesh Agarwal, who treated Govinda. Ramesh spoke to India Today and he told us that, it was him who actually got Govinda to the hospital earlier this morning, and he immediately treated him right after the unfortunate incident occurred, and that fact that he has about 7 to 8 odd stitches right now and he's still recuperating. What's interesting to know is that within the next 24 to 48 hours, Govinda is expected to get discharged because he is better and he's completely out of danger right now. His daughter, in fact, was with him throughout at the ICU, right after his operation occurred. And his wife, as soon as she landed in Mumbai, she joined and accompanied Govinda. She met with the doctors, and Dr. Ramesh Agarwal himself told us at India Today that he spoke to his wife. He made sure that she was comforted and she was aware that everything is out of danger and he's absolutely fine right now.
Hesha and Dipesh, thank you very much for joining us. We will continue tracking the health of Govinda as he recovers. But I'd surely like to tell our viewers that it's not safe to hold up a revolver that's fully loaded for whatever purpose. There were 6 bullets in Govinda's revolver. It was an old gun. It had a problem with its trigger area. But yet it appears that he held it up to clean it before he was heading to the airport. Now, we have no idea as to what was the reason he was cleaning it and touching that gun at 4 a.m. in the morning, because it's unlikely that he would have been allowed to take that gun to the airport. He won't be allowed to fly with that gun. But a quick take here on how to avoid such accidental firing. Of course, the first primary here is to avoid altering any internal mechanisms. If you don't know the weapon, don't touch it beyond a point. It can certainly lead to accidents. Be mindful of any trigger that when you put your finger weight on the trigger, it could weigh slightly heavy and actually trigger the button. So ensure and be mindful that you don't put some weight, added weight or extra weight on that trigger button. Use a padlock on revolvers to prevent any cylinder closure. A padlock is a measure that you can adopt and take up while you take that weapon itself. You're advised on how to use a padlock to lock the trigger button. Store firearms unloaded and unlocked in a locked container. An absolute no-brainer. It's supposed to be unloaded. Unfortunately here, Govinda's gun there had 6 bullets. Now, what was the purpose? He obtained a license to actually keep a gun is still uncertain. Of course, keeping firearms clean and free of dirt to prevent any blockages is absolute basic. Always supervise the firearms, never leave them unattended even during cleaning. Now, we know that this is guidance and pointers that has been given out by the Arms Act 1959 itself. Anyone holding a gun has got to be mindful of these points. All right, we have some big news coming in on actor Rajinikanth doing ill. We're going to take you through that news. Rajinikanth, who was keeping ill, we hear is now stable. In fact, there was a stent placement that for reason why he was admitted to the hospital. Thalaiva undergoing heart procedure. Initial reports claim that he had acute stomach pain and was rushed to the hospital. But we hear that this was a heart procedure where there was a stent placed. Rajinikanth, who's currently at the hospital recovering. Apollo Hospital, in fact, issues a health bulletin there on Rajinikanth saying swelling in Rajini's main blood vessel. This is what Apollo Hospital has said. Also saying that a stent has been placed to seal that swelling. Rajinikanth to be discharged likely in 2 days' time. Confirmation coming in from Apollo Hospital itself on Rajinikanth's health, where we believe a stent has been placed. He has a heart issue and that was addressed by doctors at Apollo. Let me cut across to Pramod Madhav joining us for more on that. Pramod, it was unexpected. Rajinikanth, we heard late last night, was rushed to the hospital. There was initial reports that claimed he had acute stomach pain. Now we hear a whole different story that he has a heart ailment and a stent was placed because of swelling in his main blood vessel. All right, we're going to try and patch Pramod Madhav back again. We've lost his connection there, but I'm going to read out Apollo Hospital's statement. Yet again, Apollo Hospital confirming Rajinikanth has been admitted and it's for a heart ailment which they're handling. They claim that there is swelling in Rajini's main blood vessel. A stent has now been placed to seal that swelling. And he's likely to be discharged in about 2 days' time. Pramod Madhav joining us for more on that. Pramod was asking you about Rajinikanth's health. He was rushed to the hospital claiming stomach pain. But now we hear a different story that there was a stent placed. He has a heart issue. Apollo confirming that there is slight swelling in his main blood vessel.
Absolutely, Nabila. It was already stated that it was an elective surgery and not something like an actual surgery. So that's the thing also we could get from this particular bulletin from Apollo Hospital, which says that it was a non-surgical transcatheter operation that has been done, which means like as far as we know, this is done by sending a small kind of tube from the femoral artery right next to your leg, right leg, through which it enters your aorta. And when this procedure claims about swelling, it is a kind of like a leaflet kind of thing that is inside your aorta, which helps in pumping the blood upwards and not re-entry. With age, it actually swells, and that times when you require a certain procedure called like where the doctors place a stent over there to help in assisting oxygenated blood flow through the body. So that seems to be the procedure that has been done to Rajinikanth, and the doctors also very clearly mentioned that the fans and well-wishers, there's nothing to worry, and he'll be back in 2 days, back to his home, Nabila.
All right, so of course his fans wishing him a speedy recovery. Rajinikanth seems to be doing fine though. He has an issue that's been already addressed. A stent has been placed. Pramod Madhav will continue tracking that for us. For the moment, thank you, Pramod. All right, cutting to Andhra Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister Pawan Kalyan, who's currently landed in Tirupati Temple. He will be conducting a purification process. In fact, he will be participating in this process where the temple priests will be carrying out purification of the temple. And this comes on the heels of the Tirupati Laddu controversy, where allegations were that adulterated ghee that had animal fat in it was used to make the Tirupati Prasadam over a few months. Now, this has certainly shocked and shaken the faith of scores of devotees. And in light of that, we're looking at the Deputy Chief Minister Pawan Kalyan himself, who's now in Tirupati. And we understand scores of people, especially people within the Janasena party, his political party, have come together and are now going to participate in this purification process. Apurva joining us for more on that to give us more clarity on this. Apurva, Pawan Kalyan is at the Tirupati temple right now. We believe nearly 2 lakh people have gathered or were supposed to be gathering. Can you give us some information on what this purification process is all about? How long will this take? Pawan Kalyan participating in it.
Well, Nabila, I'll need to correct you here. The purification process has already concluded here at Tirumala. It took place a couple of days back. What Pawan Kalyan is taking forth right now is a Prayashchitta Yatra, which is the atonement yatra for what had happened in Tirumala. There was a recent report that came out which showed that, the ghee that was used was adulterated, in which the report showed that there were traces of animal fat, including, lard, beef tallow and fish oil kind of animal fat that had been found in the traces of ghee samples that were sent for testing out of the tankers that had been supplying ghee. So there's been a 11-day Prayashchitta Yatra or Yajna that Pawan Kalyan had undertaken starting September 22nd, and now he is on his way to Tirumala from Tirupati. He started from the Srivari Metlu, which is from Alapiri there, and this is the very path from which he will be walking and coming this way. 1600 steps he's already walked, and where we are standing at, this is the point where 2010 steps that we'll at which we are standing. From here is the next set or stage from where he has to go ahead up these stairs as well. This is increasingly very difficult as it goes on from Tirupati to Tirumala. The entire number of steps is roughly around 3,550 steps, and Pawan Kalyan is partaking in going to Tirumala from Alapiri there by these footsteps as well, as a kind of penance that he is taking. This atonement yatra, which is the Prayashchitta Yatra that he is taking forth right now. This will conclude tomorrow, marking the 11th day of his penance, coming to an end with his darshan of Lord Venkateshwara there at Tirumala tomorrow morning with his family there. Not only will he be having the darshan, following that he's also to meet with the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam board. He's going to talk, the Deputy Chief Minister is going to talk with the officials there, see what had gone wrong. He's also going to go ahead and speak with them regarding the various departments that are controlled and are run by Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. So it's going to be a jam-packed, segment here for Pawan Kalyan over the next 3 days.
And we see already scores of people who have now come by to accompany him. Apurva, we're going to continue tracking those visuals, but ahead of the Brahmotsavam festival, we're looking at the Tirupati temple purification ritual that already has completed. Pawan Kalyan has just arrived there to be part of that process and also basically carry out repentance, penance, in a way to apologize for the way devotees have been hurt, to apologize to the gods that adulteration happened in the process of making the prasadam. He's basically gone to the temple now with his party people to beg forgiveness. This is exactly what Pawan Kalyan is there for at this point. The Janasena party claiming that there were nearly 2 lakh people to receive Pawan Kalyan. Of course, this is very significant and important, considering that the entire temple premises is now being wiped clean. Several pujas and homas are being conducted in repentance for what may have happened. Now, after the Supreme Court criticized Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, the Andhra Pradesh BJP chief has now defended the Chief Minister amid this controversy. She stated that as a constitutional head, Chandrababu Naidu has the right to address issues concerning the state and its people, including the recent Laddu controversy. The Tirumala SIT probe, meanwhile, has been stalled. It's been paused for the moment until the Supreme Court gives out its verdict on whether or not they are going to order for a separate independent judicial inquiry into this matter. And that verdict is due to come out on the 3rd of October. SIT officials state that since this is a criminal case, the Supreme Court's order is necessary, and then they decide whether or not to continue the SIT investigation in this case or not.
This kind of occurrences, any kind of desecration to temples, and such kind of occurrences should be stopped and should be addressed differently, at a different level. And all this, keeping all this in my mind, and I think that's what I initiated this Diksha. This is going to be, I think, 10th day. Once I'm done with this, tomorrow we're going to have a declaration, day after, what we are going ahead, what we are looking at. It is not just about Diksha, it's not just about saying something and we're forgetting it. There should be some kind of permanent measure to this, or some permanent addressing mechanism to it. I think that's what we're going to unleash. That's what the roadmap which we would like to set on day after tomorrow.
रात को 10 साढ़े 10 बजे को तिरुमला पहुंच के उधर गायत्री गेस्ट हाउस में सार रुक रहा है. सार फैमिली के साथ आ रहा है इस बार. मैडम सब लोग भी आ रहे हैं. वो ऊपर रुक रहा है. उठने के बाद सुबह 9:30-10:30 बीच में वीआईपी दर्शन करके बाद में थोड़ा सा ब्रेकफास्ट करने के बाद तिरुपति में किधर लड्डू का बना रहा है और लड्डू का पोर्ट किधर है, उधर जाके उधर क्या हुआ, कैसा लड्डू किया, वो घी कैसा आया, किधर टैंकर्स आया, वो पूरा उधर चेकिंग करेंगे. परसों 3 तारीख शाम को 4 to 5 बजे को तिरुपति बालाजी कॉलोनी ज्योतिराव पुले सर्कल है, वो फेमस सर्कल है तिरुपति में, उधर तो वाराही मीटिंग रख रहा है. वो मीटिंग में क्या बात करते हैं वो देखना है.
Special investigation team is already there. They're talking to various people there, whoever have been have been in the Laddu issue. They're all being interrogated by SIT. SIT will have to come up with its report. So we will all have to wait for SIT. But for the court to say that the Chief Minister of a state does not have a right to speak, I think is quite unfair, because the CM, as we all know, is the constitutional head of the state and he can talk on issues pertaining to the state. He did not comment on any extraneous issue, but he commented on what was happening in his own state.
अभी ये तिरुपति लड्डू के बारे में सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो जांच हो रही है, जांच के समय में मैं उचित नहीं मानता हूं कि उसके बारे में कुछ टिप्पणी करें. लोगों को पूरा जानकारी है, हुआ क्या, क्यों, किस तरह. आज हम पूरा दुनिया भर में हिंदू जो मानते हैं भगवान आज बालाजी को, वहाँ पे जो भी हादसा हुआ आने वाले दिनों में पूरा पर्दाफाश होगा. उसका जिम्मेदारी जो है उसको निभाना ही पड़ेगा.
Well, as much as Chandrababu Naidu was pulled up by the Supreme Court, and in fact the court literally cracked a whip on why he spoke to the media even before the SIT probe could end, we heard that the party members within the state confirming and saying that they support Chandrababu Naidu for what he said, because they indeed found adulterated ghee being used to make the prasadam. They had their justification for it, and which is why they're carrying out this temple purification process. The last week, several homas and pujas have been carried out. It's complete now, is from what I hear. Let me take you through exactly what the priest at the Tirupati temple, the chief of Tirupati temple, he's spoken to India today, where he elaborates on what this purification process is all about, how they conducted it. Let's listen in.
Today morning around 6 a.m. we started with Bhagavat Prarthana, which means taking permission from Lord that we are going to do this kind of rituals in temple for a particular cause. So taking permission from the Lord, we have started the rituals like Raksha Bandhana, Punya Vachanam and Vastu Homam. In between that, we came out with Vastu stick and covered all the places where we used to prepare laddus and annaprasadams. We have sprinkling all those divine holy water and making everything purified. So again we went back to temple inside the balance homam called Santi Homam. We have finished that and we went to Sanctum and Santorium and we have given the special bell with all freshly prepared prasadams like laddu, vada and all. We have offered everything to Lord. Now we just came out with the Maha Kumbham, which is having a holy divine water, and again we are doing the prokshana to all the places where we used to prepare the prasadams.
All right, shifting our focus now to Karnataka, we're looking at Chief Minister Siddaramaiah right now in the back foot with allegations of Muda creating a cloud over him and the Congress party in the state. In the latest, we hear Siddaramaiah's wife Parvati has now written to Muda, the Mysuru Urban Development Authority, claiming that she wants to return all the 14 plots that were granted to her as part of the exchange scheme and wants to get rid of this controversy because her husband's honor and reputation is more important than any land or property. Let me take you through the details of what really happened that really has embarrassed the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. Now that ED, Enforcement Directorate, has stepped in, filed a PMLA case against Siddaramaiah and his family members.
Trouble mounts for Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. The Lokayukt has initiated its investigation in the Mysore Urban Development Authority land allotment scam. The investigation team inspected the 3.16-acre land that was taken over by Muda, and 14 sites were allotted to Siddaramaiah's wife, Parvati. The Enforcement Directorate filed an Enforcement Case Information Report, the equivalent of an FIR, to probe the Chief Minister, his wife Parvati, the Chief Minister's brother-in-law Mallikarjun Swamy, under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Siddaramaiah's wife Parvati has denied the allegations and even offered to return the 14 sites, stating that no plot is more important than her husband's honor.
ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ಅವರ ಪುತ್ರರು ಆದಂಥ MLC ಆದಂಥ ಯತೀಂದ್ರ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಚೇರಿಗೆ ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿ ಪತ್ರ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಪತ್ರನ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಬೇಕು ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರು ಏನು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತದವರು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅದು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಡಿಯಿಂದ ಆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಮಗೇನು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ.
Chief Minister Siddaramaiah alleged a political conspiracy against his family and rejected all calls for his resignation.
ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ರೋಲ್ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಈ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿ ಪತ್ರ.
The Congress rallied behind the Chief Minister, accusing the centre of using central agencies against opposition leaders.
पहले दिन से 25 मई 2023 से प्रयास किया जा रहा है नई दिल्ली से कि कर्नाटक की सरकार को किसी तरह से हिलाए, अस्थिर बनाए, कीचड़ फेंके, केस दर्ज करें, इनकम टैक्स, सीबीआई और अब ईडी. ये धमकी है, डराने की कोशिश है, और जैसा कि मैंने कहा पहले में ही, ये प्रतिशोध, उत्पीड़न और बदलाव की राजनीति है.
The BJP mocked Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, calling him U-turn Ramaiah. The party also released a spoof and put out posters targeting the Chief Minister, reiterating the party's demand for his resignation.
The decision of giving back or surrendering sites, that itself is an admission of guilt, since Chief Minister Siddaramaiah is bound to face the investigation. Probably Siddaramaiah has taken the decision of surrendering back the sites. But by surrendering back the sites, I don't think the legal hurdle will stop. He is bound to face the legal hurdle.
The petitioner in the Muda scam is demanding a detailed investigation into the allegations.
ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೋರಾಟಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಜಯ ಸಿಗ್ತಾರಂಥದ್ದು. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳು ನ್ಯಾಯ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಇವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪುರಾವೆ ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಗಳಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಆರೋಪಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ.
The opposition had slammed Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on this particular decision, calling that this is a pure admission of guilt. By returning these sites, it clearly shows that Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has admitted that he is part of irregularities. The bigger question is, it is too late for Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to do this damage control. With video journalist Shivamurthy Sagairaj reporting for India Today, Bengaluru.
All right, taking you straight to Jammu and Kashmir as it completes its third phase of polling today. The final phase ends and the voter turnout is certainly encouraging. At 5 p.m., Jammu and Kashmir has registered a voter turnout of 65.4%. Bandipur has registered 63.3%. Baramulla has registered 55.7%. Jammu area has registered 66.7%. And Kathua 70.5%, Kupwara 62.7%, Samba 72.4%, and Udhampur 72.9%. In fact, very, very impressive. It's fared far better than many of the urban cities and areas, several other states that went into assembly elections earlier this year and last. We're looking at Jammu and Kashmir's voter turnout, absolutely encouraging. And an overall turnout as of 5 p.m. today has registered at 65.4%. Huge turnout, even in phase 3. We're looking at 3 phases that the Union Territory went into polling, and all 3 phases, the turnout has been great. I'm going to quickly cut across to our reporters joining us right there from the poll-bound Union Territory. Mir Farid, who's right now in Srinagar. We also have Kamaljeet, who's currently stationed in Jammu, and Sunil Bhatt also in Jammu. Mir Farid, over to you first. We're looking at the voter turnout, very encouraging. In most areas, it's breached the 60% mark, which is almost the standard we see across the country. Jammu and Kashmir, phase 3 has fared very well.
Yes, Nabila, these are very good figures as far as North Kashmir is concerned. But as we had been saying that this traditionally is a good voter turnout zone. So this time around, without the shadow of the gun, boycott, etc., definitely the percentages will increase. And that's exactly what has happened. This is by far the best phase as far as voter turnout is concerned. The first and second phases were good, barring Srinagar, which was a disappointment at 29%. But other than Srinagar, every district people have come out. Today, it was about Baramulla, Kupwara and Bandipora, and almost everywhere the percentage is touching 60. And we still, in fact, these are 5 p.m. figures, so by 7 we'll get the final figures, and definitely this is going to go above 70, 72 is what is expected. So people coming out in big numbers, expected as after 10 years, in a way, democracy has returned to Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah.
People were waiting for this day, and they have many problems, as we have been saying since morning. But Sadak Bijli Pani is one side, 370 was also an issue, but unemployment is something that has touched the people, and that sentiment we found almost everywhere. Nabila?
All right, fantastic. So this is basically elections in Jammu and Kashmir after nearly 10 years. We know the last that happened in 2014. If I could bring in Kamaljeet on this. 2014 to now, what has changed in your opinion, Kamaljeet? You've been traversing through Jammu areas and the voter turnout has been super encouraging. But from what we saw, the results of 2014 to what we're seeing now, the change in mood, change in sentiment, do you read something? Would you be able to tell us, give us a lowdown on how are people on the ground looking at this election? Who's got the edge?
Well, phenomenal figures coming in the first place, because remember, the first was encouraging, second, but the records have been broken in the third phase of polling. A sizable chunk of 40 seats have been presented. But yes, what we're also looking at is historic move. One is the West Pakistani refugees who are voting for the first time, Valmikis, Gorkhas. These were considered outsiders. So them casting their vote for the first time in 75, 77 years is historic by itself. They say the leaders weren't coming to them. but now they are a sizable chunk. They cannot be ignored. So all political parties were wooing them. Yes, it's going to be a big fight between the NC and the PGP and the BJP. The divide is pretty much between the Kashmir Valley and the Jammu. But remember, as far as the voting is concerned, an encouraging pattern coming from both the sides of Pir Panjal. And what is significant is that it could be the smaller parties which could actually be the kingmakers. But remember, at this point of time, there is a lot of speculation whether one single party may not be the single largest as such and may require allies. So in that sense, we could be heading towards a coalition, but we'll still have to wait for the results to really come in. At this point of time, what is encouraging to note is the number of people who came out, the enthusiasm, the euphoria. We also saw a lot of band, baja, music, drumming. So a lot of enthusiasm coming in from those particular segments of people, including the West Pakistani refugees who have been given citizenship, who have now the right to vote. So a lot of encouraging signs, but clearly it's also been 10 years since they've cast their vote. So it's going to be a decisive election for all the people, whether they belong to Jammu or the Kashmir division.
All right. Thanks very much, Kamaljeet. Well, let me quickly take our viewers through exactly what we saw of 2014 to what's to expect now. We'll know in a few days' time. But in 2014, a quick mood check on 10 years ago, this was the number. At that point, we saw the NC overall had won 24 seats out of the 90. The PDP had great numbers at 29 out of 90. The BJP also had very encouraging numbers at that point at 30 out of the 90, and several other independent candidates at 7. So this was the overall figure that we saw of 2014. I'm going to quickly also bring in Sunilji Bhatt on this. Sunil, if we're really looking at this picture here, according to you, is there a shift in sentiment? The PDP that did exceptionally well in 2014, do you see a similar trend for the PDP this time? The mood towards BJP, considering that Jammu and Kashmir was governed by the centre for nearly 6 years, is there any favour for the BJP you see at large? And just the mood overall, the figures that you see of 2014 to what you expect happening in the next few days as the results declare?
Well, Nabila, whosoever wins these elections, ultimately it's the democracy that has emerged victorious in Jammu and Kashmir. We have seen great enthusiasm among the people, both in the Kashmir Valley as well as in the Jammu division. And the third phase of polling took place today. This was the final phase of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. And both in Jammu region and Kashmir Valley, very impressive turnout has been recorded. And this figure is till 5 p.m. So this figure is going to increase in the coming hours because the data is being compiled. Voting is over now, but this data of turnout is till 5 p.m. So it's going to take some more time before the final tally comes. But what is encouraging is that people have reposed their faith in the democratic process. And as far as political parties are concerned, the BJP is hoping to emerge as the single largest political party after the results in Jammu and Kashmir. On the other hand, the PDP hopes to emerge as the kingmaker. PDP knows that they are not going to win that many seats, but they want to be in a position that they can call the shots because National Conference and Congress are in a pre-poll alliance. What PDP is hoping for that these two parties should fall short of numbers, then they should require PDP support. That's what PDP is hoping. But as far as BJP is concerned, BJP is aiming at emerging as the single largest party here, and then they want to take support of independents and other smaller parties to form their own government. BJP has set an ambitious target for itself. It wants to form its own government in Jammu and Kashmir. It wants to install its own chief minister in Jammu and Kashmir for the first time. So on October 8th, we will get to know that what's going to happen in Jammu and Kashmir. Nabila,
Absolutely.
Back to you.
So results on October 8th, but until then, we can only speculate. We're looking at very encouraging numbers with Udhampur is in fact the highest voter turnout that's registered at nearly 77%. So we're looking at areas which were largely volatile who have come out, people who have come out extensively to cast their ballot. This really shows democracy back into Jammu and Kashmir. Thanks very much, Mir Fareed, Kamaljeet and Sunilji Bhatt for giving us a roundup of Jammu and Kashmir as the final phase of polling ends today.